Babylon was a grand city. King Nebuchadnezzar was a very powerful ruler. He decided to build a huge golden statue. This statue was enormous, standing tall for all to see. It was placed on the plain of Dura, a wide, flat area. A sense of tension filled the air. The king had a plan, and everyone felt it. People whispered and wondered. What did this grand statue mean for them? It was a time of great anticipation and unease. The king then made a very serious new law. He commanded that everyone must bow down. They had to worship the golden statue he had built. Music would play, and that would be the signal. If anyone refused to bow, they would face a terrible punishment. A fiery furnace, burning hot, waited for those who disobeyed. This was not a suggestion, it was a strict order. Fear began to spread among the people. They knew the king meant what he said. In Babylon lived 3 young Hebrew men. Their names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They held important positions and served the king well. However, their deepest loyalty was to their own God. Their faith was a strong and steady part of their lives. They knew they could not bow to any idol or statue. Quietly but firmly, they made their decision. They would honor their God no matter the cost. Their hearts were set. Soon, the sound of horns, pipes, and lyres filled the air. The music was the signal to bow. Across the plain, people fell to their knees. They prostrated themselves before the shining gold. The entire crowd seemed to melt towards the ground. Yet, amidst the bowing figures, 3 stood firm. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did not bend. They remained upright, a silent, powerful protest. Their courage was clear for all to witness. Some of the king's officials saw the 3 men standing. These officials were important Chaldeans. Perhaps they were jealous of the Hebrews' positions. They quickly went to King Nebuchadnezzar. Their voices were filled with malice as they spoke. "O king, live forever," they began, as was custom. "There are certain Jews you appointed over Babylon," they said. "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego pay no attention to you, O king. They neither serve your gods nor worship the golden statue." King Nebuchadnezzar heard their words. His face turned dark with fury. He was filled with an immense rage. How could anyone dare to disobey his direct command? He ordered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to be brought before him immediately. He could not believe such audacity. His authority had been challenged openly. He felt a need to make a strong example. Disobedience would not be tolerated in his kingdom. The 3 friends were brought before the furious king. He looked at them, his eyes blazing with anger. Yet he decided to give them one more opportunity. "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego?" he asked. "Is it true that you do not serve my gods, or worship the golden statue I have set up? Now, if you are ready when you hear the music," he continued, "if you fall down and worship the statue, very well. But if you do not worship, you will be thrown at once into a blazing furnace." Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not shaken. They replied to the king with calm dignity. Their voices were respectful but firm. "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to defend ourselves before you in this matter," they stated clearly. "If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not," they added, their faith shining brightly, "we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods. We will not worship the golden statue you have set up." The king's response to their defiance was explosive. His face became even more distorted with rage. He was absolutely furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He ordered his servants to heat the furnace, not just hot but 7 times hotter than usual. It was to be an inferno of unimaginable intensity. He then commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army. They were to tie up the 3 men securely. Their ropes were thick and strong, ensuring no escape. The mighty soldiers seized Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They bound them tightly, still in their robes and hats. Then they dragged them towards the roaring furnace. The heat radiating from its mouth was overpowering. It was so intense that it was deadly. The crowd watched in hushed, fearful silence. A mixture of terror and grim expectation filled the air. Tragically, the flames were so fierce. The soldiers who pushed the three men into the fire were themselves killed by the heat. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were cast into the heart of the fire. They fell into the midst of the blazing, swirling inferno. The flames leaped and roared all around them. To any observer, it seemed like a certain terrible death. This was the ultimate test of their unwavering faith. Could anyone possibly survive such a ferocious blaze? The onlookers held their breath, expecting the worst. It was a moment of dreadful finality. But then, an astonishing thing happened. King Nebuchadnezzar, watching intently, suddenly leapt to his feet. His eyes were wide with utter amazement and disbelief. "Look!" he shouted to his advisors, his voice filled with shock. "Weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire?" His advisors confirmed, "Certainly, Your Majesty." "But I see 4 men," the king exclaimed. "They are walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." King Nebuchadnezzar moved closer to the opening of the blazing furnace. He peered into the raging flames, his mind reeling. He could scarcely believe what his eyes were telling him. He then called out in a loud, clear voice. His tone was no longer angry, but filled with awe. "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego," he cried out. "Servants of the Most High God, come out, come here to me." He beckoned them to leave the fire. And so the 3 men walked out of the furnace. They stepped calmly from the midst of the fire, completely untouched. The satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisors crowded around. They gasped in collective amazement. Not a single hair on their heads was singed. Their robes were not scorched or damaged in any way. There was not even the slightest smell of fire upon them. They were entirely unharmed by the inferno. This was undeniably a powerful miracle. King Nebuchadnezzar was profoundly affected by this incredible event. His heart underwent a complete transformation. He spoke with reverence and wonder. "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego," he declared, "for all to hear. He has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command. They were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. No other god can save in this way." He then issued a new decree, honoring their God. The story of these 3 faithful men endures. It teaches a timeless and powerful lesson. True faith is not the absence of fear. We all feel fear at times. True faith is finding courage even when fear is present. It is about holding on to trust in something or someone greater, especially when facing the hottest, most difficult trials of life. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego showed that courage rooted in faith can shine brightly. It can withstand any flame and inspire generations.